practice this story about a man going to work in the morning. This is the second picture of our story. The sentences are very natural English. I'm only emphasizing the stress and intonation to show how English is normally spoken.
Good morning, George, a neighbor calls out, but Mr. Black's not paying attention. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late.
We'll begin practicing at the end of our story, and then add more pieces until we come to the beginning. The end has been practiced more than the beginning, so once you begin the story, the rest follows smoothly. I will repeat each sentence 3 times and explain the techniques being used. Okay, here we go.
Afraid that he might be late. Afraid that he might be late. Afraid that he might be late.
The emphasized content words are afraid, might, and late. The other words, that, he, and be, are unstressed, spoken lightly and quickly. In this phrase, T-H-A-T, that, is unstressed and pronounced the. The D of afraid and the TH of that are linked together into one movement, similar to the T-TH sound that I've explained in previous videos. Our tongue goes to the TH position first and stops like a D, but our vocal cords keep moving. And because all vowels have voicing, the long A of afraid is exaggerated to express both the voiced D and the voiced TH. Actually, we are not pronouncing the D at all. We are stopping and exaggerating the TH sound instead, like this. Afraid, afraid, afraid. The pronoun he is also unstressed here and pronounced without the H sound. By dropping the H sound, we can easily link 3 words. Afraid, that, he. Afraid that he. Afraid that he. Afraid that he. You will also hear my American flap T sound, which occurs when a T is between 2 vowel sounds. That he. British English will usually pronounce the T differently, like this. The T. Listen to the whole phrase again. Afraid that he might be late. Let's go on and add the rest of this sentence.
He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late.
The strong content words are check and watch. The lightly pronounced words are he's and his. He is the first word of this sentence, so the H is clearly pronounced, but the H of his is silent or unpronounced. The W of watch is a semi-vowel, so all 3 words, checking his watch, are linked together. Checking his watch. Checking his watch. Checking his watch. Here's the full sentence. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late. Now, here's another piece of our picture, so we put 2 sentences together.
Mr. Black's not paying attention. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late. Mr. Black's not paying attention. He is checking his watch, afraid that he might be late. Mr. Black's not paying attention. He is checking his watch, afraid that he might be late.
Can you hear the content words black, paying, and attention? Of course, long words will usually be stressed on only one syllable. Afraid, paying, attention. The unstressed, lightly pronounced words are Mr. and not. The words paying and attention are linked together with the NG sound. the same linking we just found between checking and his. Paying attention. Here are both sentences again. Mr. Black's not paying attention. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late. Let's continue and add the final piece of our story.
Good morning, George, a neighbor calls out, but Mr. Black's not paying attention. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late. Good morning, George, a neighbor calls out, but Mr. Black's not paying attention. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late. Good morning, George, a neighbor calls out, but Mr. Black's not paying attention. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late.
The content words are morning, George, neighbor, and out. The unstressed words are good, calls, and but. The words George and a are linked with a J sound. Georgia, Georgia, George, a neighbor calls out. The words calls and out are also joined together with a Z sound. Calls out, calls out, a neighbor calls out. Now listen and practice our story without breaking the rhythm. Practicing over and over again like this will help you to understand English spoken at normal speed.
Good morning, George, a neighbor calls out, but Mr. Black's not paying attention. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late.
If you count the number of words in these two sentences that are clearly pronounced, usually the content words, there are 12. If you count the number of words or syllables that are unstressed or lightly pronounced, you will find that there are 19. This means that a native English speaker needs to hear less than half the words in a conversation. This is the secret to listening comprehension, catching the important words. Some people might say that my sentences sound strange and artificial, and not every sentence in English is arranged like these. This is true. However, when we read a story, we do read it this way, perhaps with a bit more feeling or intonation, like this. Every morning, at about the same time, Mr. Black leaves for work. Here he is driving up out of the underground garage. Good morning, George, a neighbor calls out, but Mr. Black's not paying attention. He's checking his watch, afraid that he might be late. Now, go on to the next picture, picture C of our story. There are 10 parts in all. Thank you for watching and listening.